Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist, the weekly show from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network that brings you all the latest developments from the realm of Arizona State University Sun Devil baseball and features third-year ASU head coach Willie Bloomquist. I'm Tim Healy, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil baseball and your host for our shows each week, and we are delighted you joined us. We have a couple of guests slated to drop by a little later on in the program. The Pac-12 Conference Pitcher of the Week for his recent performance at Arizona, ASU Southpaw Connor Markl will join us on this show. So too will Connor's mentor at Arizona State, as Sun Devil pitching coach Sam Peraza will drop by for a conversation. But right now, let me welcome in ASU head coach Willie Bloomquist, whose team shook off a tough three-game sweep at Washington State over this past weekend to stage a memorable comeback on Monday night in a game up at UNLV. Trailing 7-1 after one inning, the Sun Devils chipped away at that deficit, finally took the lead in the ninth inning, and then held on for a dramatic 10-9 victory over the Rebels. Good visiting with you, Willie. Take us through Monday night's ball game, the range of emotions that must have created for you and the guys, falling behind by 6 early on and then relentlessly rallying and coming back to win.
Well, Monday night was I guess hopefully a turning point for us. The weekend was rough, to say the least, and not from a standpoint of overall performance. It just the overall intensity was disappointing, and we had a firm discussion about that on Monday prior to the game. The bottom line, I'm gonna play guys that want to play and that want to represent this program the right way. And what we're doing right now is not acceptable. So hopefully they took that message to heart. Obviously, the lineup that I ran out there was a little bit strange, to say the least. And that was by design, just to hey, I'm not kidding around. I'm going to throw the guys out there that want to win. Even, I flew a kid in to play. So if you guys aren't going to play hard, I'll find somebody that will. And end of the day, they, we spotted them a touchdown there in the first, and it looked like things were just going to continue to be ugly. And, but to the boys' credit, they hung in there, they battled back and showed some resiliency, and were able to get us a W, in Vegas there, and hopefully spark us and get us on the right track, because, we need it right now.
For sure. And, something that your teams have excelled at in your 3 years here is coming from behind. Monday's win at UNLV was the 9th time in the last 3 years the Sun Devils have won a ball game in which they trailed by as many as 5 runs. And, in fact, ASU has trailed at some point in 26 of its last 32 victories over the last couple of years. Last year's club, Willie, was really good at this come-from-behind paradigm. Did you see some signs from this group? Are you seeing signs, the competitive characteristics that last year's team had?
Well, the good news is we're able to come from behind. The bad news is we're behind a lot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's one of those things in today's game of college baseball. You're going to have to learn how to battle and be able to do that and come from behind, because things are not always going to be peaches and cream and rosy all the time. You're going to have to learn how to deal with adversity and come back. And that was this year's team. That was one game, on Monday, and that's the first time in several weeks that this team is, in my mind, shown the character that it takes, that embodies what it means to embody being a Sun Devil, and play the right way, and not give in regardless of the results and the situation of the game. You just keep grinding and keep playing the way it's supposed to be played, and don't give in. We did that a little bit early on, but as like I said, the past few weeks, it's been missing. So hopefully they understand what is expected of them, and what's expected of their performance and effort level, and hopefully that's a trend, and we'll continue in the right direction in that front.
A week ago, you expressed your frustration over the struggles of your offense in the early weeks of March. However, in your last 4 games, your team has cranked out 10-plus hits in 3 of them, a team batting average of .291 over the last 4 games. Do you sense your offense is kind of coming back to life over these last few games?
I hope so. It's been that was supposed to be our strong point of our team coming into this year. Like I said, early on, there was some good signs that we were going to be a very creative, fun offense. And then we kind of went dormant there for 2, 3 weeks where it was tough sledding to score runs. And, some of our guys that are expected to produce at a high level have not been doing that. But as of late, they're starting to show signs of life, of coming out of things and putting stuff together. So, we're not expecting all 9 guys to be on, the same high level cylinder at once, but you can't have 5 or 6 of your key guys that are scuffling at once and expect to score a lot of runs, and that was kind of the case there for a while. But guys are starting to break out of it and starting to put together better at bats and stick with their approach a little bit more. And I think if they continue to do that, hopefully we'll continue to score more runs because we're going to need it.
One guy I think who symbolizes that is right fielder Nick McLean. Nick was, I think, only hitting 111 in a 9-game stretch that led into last weekend's Washington State series. But in the last 4 games, he's 7 for 16, a couple of doubles, a couple of homers, including a big jack Monday night in Vegas, 8 RBIs. It seems like Nick has kind of started to turn things around.
Yeah, Nick's one of those guys that we need. And he got up to a little bit of a slow start and came off the broken hand, and we threw him right back into the fire. And it sometimes takes a couple weeks to find your rhythm and find your stroke. And I think he was getting a little frustrated with getting beat by fastballs that normally he's not accustomed to getting beat by. But a lot of that's just timing and rhythm that it takes a little bit. And these big leaguers get a whole month of spring training to figure this out, where we're asking these guys to, or Nick in particular, to come back and jump right into the fire and be ready to go. And it's we've all seen what Nick's capable of doing, and I know he's been a little frustrated, but as of late he's really starting to get back to form. Those numbers are, as you spoke of, are good, but it does not a full indication where he's actually hit 4 or 5 more balls very hard that have been right at some guy. There was a highlight reel play from the UNLV first baseman that cost him another double, probably on Monday, and squared up a few balls at Washington State that could have fallen in. So he's starting to come back to life, and like I said, we're gonna need Nick McLean's bat if we're gonna make any type of run at this thing.
Well, erasing a big early deficit as you did Monday night in Las Vegas requires not only some timely hitting, but also some solid work from your bullpen, and you got exactly that, didn't you, on Monday night in Vegas?
Yeah, that was impressive by them, and after we got down there early, that they came out swinging the sticks pretty impressive, and weren't missing any barrels, and everything they were hitting seemed to be on the screws and hitting hard. And like, man, this is going to be one of those days we're going to have to limp through this and figure it out. And Adam Behrens came in and did an admirable job stopping the bleeding there. And then you can't say enough about Jonah Giblin coming in on his performance, what he did, and really threw the ball outstanding. So yeah, that was Cole Carlone came in and threw the ball well, and some other guys came in there too and did their job. And yeah, it was an impressive performance by the bullpen to keep it right there and give our offense a chance to scratch back in the game.
Yeah, the bullpen did a great job picking up your starter, Tyler Meyer, who had a rough outing. Willie, what's Tyler's situation physically? Do you think there are physical issues still with him that might attribute the rough outing he had the other day?
Well, it's Tyler. Start by saying, man, there's nobody that cares as much as Tyler does and
right.
feels as bad as he does right now, because he wants to contribute and do his part for this team. He's always been a team guy, and we all know what Tyler is capable of doing. But when you come off a major surgery like he's had, it's there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be things that go up and down, and we're all clinging to the hope that Tyler gets back to the form that he's capable of. But the harsh reality is it's been a struggle for him. He knows it. We all know it. And I think the biggest thing is, I think his health is fine. But when you come off a major surgery like that, it takes a while to get the feel of all your pitches back. And I think right now the biggest thing is really just his fastball command. The velocity is back there, the changeup is there, the breaking ball is there, but just the overall feel of being able to dot his pitches like he used to and be a command pitcher just isn't quite there. And you don't have command, especially when you're not a mid 90 mile an hour arm. You have to have good command in order to be successful. And That's where I see him struggling a little bit right now. And then, obviously the doubt is creeping in a little bit mentally from, it's like, man, do I still have it? It's like, yeah, you do. We just we gotta keep going, man. This is a tough stretch that you're on right now. And, bottom line, he cares so much and wants it so bad that it's at times you kind of get defeated when it's like, man, what more can I do? It's just not working out. But, he's such a great kid. We need him to try to hopefully get back to form.
Yeah, I'll echo those sentiments. Tyler is a terrific kid, and hopefully he can bounce back. Willie, you referenced this earlier, but can a win like Monday's be kind of a mid-season momentum turner for a ball club as your team now heads home and gets ready for a huge Pac-12 series with Cal?
I hope so. It was a start. Like I said, is that a season-changing game? Hey, we'll see. We got to start somewhere. And to me, that was at least the mental toughness and grittiness that I demand and expect out of these guys to keep fighting regardless of the results. So that's a start. Hopefully that can catapult us and get us moving in the right direction and get us moving forward. And, we have to clean things up continuously. It's always a continuous grind to get better. But you got to do it with the right mindset and the right mentality. And hopefully that's a start for us.
Still plenty more to come on this installment of Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist. Pitching will be the focus of the next two segments as we will visit with ASU's third-year pitching coach, Sam Peraza. And then up next, you'll meet the young man who earned Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week honors for his outstanding performance 2 weeks ago in a shutout win at the University of Arizona. Sun Devil Southpaw starter Connor Markl will join us after these messages. You're listening to Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist here on the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. We're back on Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist talking Arizona State Sun Devil baseball here on the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healy, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil Baseball, and your host for our weekly show. We're glad you joined us this week. Our first guest this evening is a fellow who transferred to Arizona State this past offseason from crosstown rival Grand Canyon University and quickly has established himself as part of the Sun Devils' weekend pitching rotation. In fact, 2 weeks ago in Tucson, he threw 6 shutout innings, allowing just 1 hit with 8 strikeouts in helping pitch the Devils to a series-clinching 4-0 win over the Arizona Wildcats. It was a performance good enough to earn for him Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week honors. He's a product of Notre Dame Prep in Scottsdale, and we are delighted to welcome pitcher Connor Markl to the show. Connor, I did you on a pregame last week in Washington State, so this is 2 interviews in 2 weeks. I think that's a new Pac-12 record. How you doing, bud?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing great. Reflect back, if you would, on your work on the mound on that Saturday evening down in Tucson. You really seemed to be completely in command in that ball game. What was your mindset? What was working? Tell us about that performance.
Yeah, for sure. So coming off of the tricep tendonitis that I kind of had going into the week, it wasn't a lot of playing catch, weightlifting. It was just a lot of recovery stuff. So that was a struggle, but I knew I could pitch through it, and I could have pitched through the Oregon series, but the coaches kind of decided that it was going to be best to take the weekend off and really recover and get the body right and get the arm right. But heading into that game, I was really excited. I heard all about the U of A versus ASU storylines. I heard the history behind it. It was a really cool experience to be a part of, one that I won't forget. And going the game, I was just focused on what I could do to help the team win and execute my pitches, and it went pretty well.
What pitches were working for you, and what pitches are working for you when you are in a groove out there on the mound?
Yeah, absolutely. My fastball is working really well. I was able to locate it in and outside throughout the whole duration of the game. Changeup's kind of always been my go-to pitch. That's a pitch I fully trust at all times to any hitter in any count. It's kind of my go-to pitch. And then my slider and curveball were honestly working well too. It was just keeping them off balance, keeping them off to where they couldn't just eliminate my changeup. And yeah, but when I have those 4 pitches, it's something special to watch.
It's always something special to watch when the Sun Devils take on the Wildcats in any sport. Now, when you were at Grand Canyon, you would play Arizona in a pair of non-conference games, home and home, each year. I'm wondering, how did the competition against the U of A as a Sun Devil differ from the feeling you had when you competed against them as one of the members of the Antelopes?
Yeah, it's different for sure. It's not the same. There was always being in the same state when I was at GCU was always a little motivating too, playing ASU and U of A. But it was nothing like playing as a Sun Devil compared to when I was at GCU. Playing U of A as a Sun Devil is crazy. It's the history behind it is just unmatched. It's one of the biggest rivalries I think in the country. It's just one that you have to be ready for at all times, have to be locked in. But it was one of those memories I won't forget.
How are the fans down there?
Honestly, I was expecting worse. I enjoy it, so I enjoy the banter and the chatter that they do. But I was expecting a little more, so I didn't get as many chirps as I thought I was going to. But yeah, so I guess when we win the first 2 days, they can't really say much. So
there you go. The U of A fans didn't bring their A game that weekend, I think is what Connor's saying. But part of the deal is their basketball team was playing in the Pac-12 tournament, so maybe that was the reason, huh? There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you went a career best 6 innings in that game, and then you topped it last weekend in Pullman, going 6 2/3 strong innings on Saturday in a tough defeat, a 3-2 ball game where your offensive teammates just were snake bitten that day, hitting in some incredibly bad luck in that game. What were your takeaways from Saturday's game, your performance, and the way the game turned out?
Yeah, obviously we were pretty disappointed with how the game turned out. I thought our offense did really well that day. We had a lot of barrels that were just found people. They found the defenders. We couldn't really do much about it. So I still have full faith and trust and confidence in our offense to produce those runs. It was just one of those days where I was like, wow, like we're hitting it hard. It's just going right to the guys. And then for me, I just try to do what I was doing against U of A, and what I've tried to do each and every outing of the year is stick to my same plan, same approach, stay within myself, and embrace all the elements. It was definitely cold up there, but embrace it. Embrace the weak contact hits that I've kind of been known for. It's embracing all of that. It's just kind of been a part of my game this year.
Yeah. I was going to ask you what it was like and how challenging it is to pitch in weather like we had in Pullman last weekend. You pitched Saturday. The Sunday game was the worst weather of the weekend. It was 40 degrees at game time and drizzly, but it was chilly all weekend. How challenging is that to pitch in?
Absolutely, it was challenging, but once you got the blood flow going, it didn't feel as cold. I'd say I didn't feel very cold on Saturday, but when you're not moving around in the dugout too much, you're not playing. Sunday was very cold, but going back to Saturday, it was just about getting the body stretched out even more, just because of those cold elements with the wind and with some of the drizzling that was going on. It was just about getting your body loose. And getting as loose as it can, because it was going to be a little tighter than it would have been on a hot day here in Tempe.
It's tough. It was a tough weekend on the diamond, losing all 3 games at Washington State. 2 of them 1-run games, and the other, the Sunday finale, a 2-run game. And yet, what did your team show you Monday night when you guys had to go right from Pullman to Las Vegas to play UNLV? You fall in a 7-1 hole after 1 inning, and yet they storm back and posted a terrific come-from-behind 10-9 win.
Yeah, we're gritty. I'll say that. We're very gritty. We've had a lot of talks with each other and the coaches and just a team as a whole about what we can be doing, what we need to be doing, what we should be doing to overcome some of these adversities that we've been facing early on in the season. And it's a lot about just trusting our preparation, trusting ourselves, having full confidence in ourselves to go out there and compete with anyone, and no matter what the score is, that we still come back. And I think Monday was a great showing of that, because we were down 7-1 after the first, and we still came back and won. And that was a good UNLV team that was putting up a lot of hits, and we still found a way to come back and win. So I really think that was a good testament to who we are and what we can do. And I'm hoping that was a really good building block for the rest of the season for us.
I was going to ask, do you think that could be a midseason momentum changer for your team?
Absolutely. I think that was a huge game for us, because we didn't perform the way we wanted to in Pullman, but going out and traveling all the way back to Vegas and having that long day and then going right back at it and playing, really, I think is a good testament to what we can do. And I think this could be a really good turning point for us.
Let's talk a little bit about your path in college baseball. Out of Notre Dame Prep, you elected to go to Grand Canyon University. You pitched there for 3 seasons. How do you reflect back on your GCU days?
Yeah, it was a lot of a learning experience for me. I've always kind of known what I can do. I've pitched in some really big games out there for GCU throughout the years, and it was a lot of a learning experience for me to kind of where I am today. I learned a lot about myself on and off the field and what I can do. But it was a good time. I have a lot of good memories for sure, but it was a lot of learning experience.
And one little tidbit, I believe Connor Markl's first win at GCU came against Arizona State in a start in
Yep.
2021 over at your ballpark at Grand Canyon, correct?
Yeah, yep. That was my first collegiate start. I remember it pretty well still to this day, and yeah, it was against ASU, so it's kind of funny.
Yep, April of 2021 to be exact. And then after 3 seasons with the Lopes, you put your name in the transfer portal. What factors led you to come across town and become a Sun Devil?
Yeah, the transfer portal was really unique. It was a fun experience for sure. And then kind of talking to Coach Bloomquist and Peraza, I really liked what they were saying. I thought they could help me become a more complete pitcher, and I could help them win a lot of games here and help us do what ASU is known to do for baseball in their history. And even though we haven't gone off to that start, I still have full faith that we can turn this around and do what we're capable of doing. I love the conversation with Bloomquist and Praz about the mentality, because that's been a struggle of mine at times throughout my years at GCU. So that was something that I was really focused on when I was going in the portal, and I really thought they could get me physically ready as well. And I think they've done a great job with that. But I think just talking with both of them, it was just a really big decision for me. But that was one of the biggest reasons why I'm here today.
You are part of a pitching staff that has shown some definite signs of improvement in the first 6 weeks of the season. How do you feel about the overall work of your mound mates so far this year?
Yeah, I think we're doing great. We're going through some of these learning curves that, it's just bound to happen in college baseball, and I think there's still going to be struggles along the way. But I think we're doing a great job of bouncing back and not letting it get to one another, as well as doing our own part and making sure that we can do what we can do to help the team win. I think we have a lot of talent on this pitching staff, and we're doing a great job so far of it. And now it's just building on the good moments and then building on the negative moments as well and learning from them to help these, situations become smaller if necessary, like certain innings. But doing stuff like that and learning with one another instead of like competing against each other, like we're one team now. Like we're going to do this together. We're either going to win together or we're going to lose together. So we have a really good united group, and I'm happy with how I've seen some of these pitchers grow so far this year.
A big Easter weekend series this week against a good offensive club from California. Your mindset and that of your fellow pitchers as you enter this series against a good hitting Cal team.
Yeah, we're really excited. We know that they've done well so far this year, and they got a really good lineup, really good team overall, and they've performed really well this season. We just know that what we got to do, we got to stick to our plan. We're going to talk to Coach Peraza, have our pitcher meetings, and talk with one another, see what we can do before the series. And we just got to trust ourselves, and the biggest thing is trust the preparation that we've put in all year. Trust in ourselves, have the confidence in ourselves is really important too, to not back down from anyone. So we know they're going to be good, but we have full trust that we're going to walk away from the series with some wins.
Well, Connor, again, it's so great to have you here at Arizona State. Best of luck to you this weekend and the rest of the season, and thanks for joining us, bud.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
That's Sun Devil starting pitcher Connor Markl. He has been our guest on this segment of Dugout Chatter. Coming up, you will meet Connor's mentor at Arizona State as third-year Sun Devil pitching coach Sam Peraza will drop by for a visit. But first, let's take a timeout. This is Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist, coming your way from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. Arizona State baseball is the subject up for discussion on this evening as we welcome you back to this installment of Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healy, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil baseball and your host for this week's show. Our next guest is in his third season in charge of the Arizona State pitching staff, having come to ASU from San Diego State, where he spent 6 years as the pitching coach of the Aztecs, and the last 2 years of his tenure there, he was also San Diego State's associate head coach. He made previous coaching stops at Florida International and at Cal State Northridge, and it's always a pleasure to welcome our good friend, Coach Sam Peraza, to the show. How you doing, Sam? Good to see you, bud.
I'm doing good, Tim. Thanks for having me on.
Start by giving us, if you would, your overview of how your pitchers have performed through the first 6 weeks plus of this season.
Well, I think it was a little bit of what I expected in terms of getting better. I mentioned that in a couple of the interviews before, where last year we started off really strong. We had older guys and kind of faded at the end. This year, with everyone being so young and new to Division I pitching, whether it's the amount of freshmen we have or some of the junior college kids coming in, I think that we started slow, but I think as the last couple of weeks have come by, you could kind of see the progression that's happening, and I'm hoping it kind of carries over into the end of the year.
One thing that has been evident to us that follow the program from day one is that it's clear the arm talent that you have this year is better than the last couple of seasons. As a case in point, Arizona State by far and away is the Pac-12 leader in strikeouts and number 2 in the league behind Stanford in strikeouts per 9 innings of pitching.
Yeah, I think that was a big emphasis in the recruiting class, was to get better arms in here, try to make it more of a pitching generated school. I know ASU in my time coming up has always been known for the big hitters, and if we could get some arms in there now, I do wish that these guys had a year of experience in their belt, but we're kind of going through those ups and downs with them right now. But like I said, I think the last couple of weeks has indicated the improvement that they're doing. So hopefully as they carry it over through the end of the year, and we could really start a foundation for pitching here in years to come.
Now, I'll preface this next topic by reiterating something that Willie Bloomquist has told us, and that is that your terrific freshman Friday night starter, Thomas Burns, will not be available this weekend because of some shoulder stiffness. But just talking about Thomas generically, Sam, it's not often that a Power 5 program entrusts its Friday night role to a true freshman, and yet you did with him, and he has not disappointed. Share with me your overview, what qualities you and Coach Bloomquist saw in Thomas that made you think he could be a Friday night guy for you.
He's just a tough kid, and he's everything that Coach Bloomquist has been wanting as far as his program goes and the identity of players and pitchers. He doesn't make any excuses. He, goes out there and competes every single time out there. He doesn't care if he's a freshman, other guys are older. He's confident that he could win any game possible. He doesn't back down from challenges, and just the toughness overall and the mindset overall that he carries over to the mound is the reason why we decided to go with him at such a young age.
Is the shoulder stiffness something that can be a short-term issue? I know a couple of weeks ago, Markl took a week off in the Oregon series, then came back and has given you 2 quality starts in a row. What's your take on where Thomas is in that regard right now?
That's exactly what we're hoping for, Tim. So we gave Connor kind of a little bit of a break there because he had some stiffness, and we're going to do the same thing with Thomas, and being up in Pullman, he had a hard time getting loose in between innings. The weather was a little bit colder up there, and I think he just, that being a freshman at this point in the season, could benefit from that, and we don't want it to get any worse. We don't want put him in harm's way. The reality of it is if you ask the kid, he could pitch through it this weekend. And we just don't want to put him in that situation and put his health and his future in our program in that scenario. So I'm hoping it's a 1-week thing. He's ready to go next weekend against Oregon State.
Speaking of Markl, boy, the way he has performed since that week off, he has been tremendous. The one-hit shutout pitching for 6 innings at Arizona that earned him Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week honors, and he followed it up with a quality effort, 6 2/3 innings, a career high, albeit in a tough 3-2 loss Saturday at Washington State. Give us your take on Connor and what's made him so effective, particularly these last 2 starts.
Well, we gave him a little break. He's come back really healthy and strong, and I think the biggest thing that makes him effective is his changeup, and he continues to learn. In the past, he reminds me so much of Kyle Luckham we had here, where he didn't have the success he quite wanted to at a mid-major level. and little things happen. If you look at all his outings, like, he didn't really get hit. It was just little CNI singles here and there, and he wasn't able to overcome it. So the biggest thing that we've talked about with Connor is just control what you could control. If a guy gets a leadoff single that happens to go, a dribbler through the infield, you won. You did your job. So you just got to continue to do your job every single time out there, and only control what you're capable of. And he's really taking that mental step to do so. I know he carries a journal around in between innings and writes down, what the inning went like for him, what was good, what was bad.
Wow.
We sit down the next day and talk about it. And I think the maturity of letting the negative stuff behind them has really helped them take a big leap here.
We're talking with Arizona State pitching coach Sam Peraza on this week's installment of Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist. I'm Tim Healy, your host. And Sam, you've had two relievers who have stepped up and done outstanding work for you, a lefty and a righty. Let's talk first about the lefty, UCLA transfer Ben Jacobs. He is averaging better than 14 strikeouts per 9 innings of pitching, limiting opponents to a 176 batting average. What is your overview of how Ben has performed?
Benny's been great, and Benny needs to know that eventually he's going to be a weekend starter for us here, whether it be this year or the following year. He obviously comes back as a junior next year, but he just same thing as Connor, like just kind of learning through things. He was at UCLA last year as a freshman, but only threw 7 innings. So this is almost his freshman year. So he's got to go through the growing pains as well. And it's a lot of conversations with him after his outings, the good, the bad. Obviously, there's been more good than bad, which I continue to hope that's the case. But he's the arm talent that could be a Friday, Saturday night type of starter here in a Power 5 conference, and I think he's going to get there. He's taking the process real serious and not trying to jump the gun. So I'm really happy with what Benny's done mentally so far.
Meanwhile, a right-hander from Gilbert's Campo Verde High School and Central Arizona College, Ryan Schieffer, has also been at times overpowering this year. A 1.35 ERA, a microscopic 0.95 opponent's batting average. What factors have contributed to Ryan's success?
Ryan's always been a big arm. He was a big arm out of high school. He was a big arm at GCU, and he just hasn't, and even at Central Arizona, and never quite had put it together. I think with him, it was less was more. He came in here in the fall with 5 pitches, and he doesn't need all those 5. He's got a devastating splitter. He's got a good slider, and his fastball's good. It's good. It's a plus fastball. So it was just about convincing him to take away some of the things that he came in, some of the arsenal he came in with, and just focusing on what makes him good. And with him, it's just a classic example of less is more. And we throw that split quite a bit, and it works off his fastball well. And we talked about it, slider's his third pitch, but when you throw it, just be efficient with it. Doesn't have to be perfect with it. And he's done a nice job for us, man. I quite honestly, the numbers are just surpassing what we expected out of him. But, he needs to understand that even if a tough moment happens, he gets a chance to get back on the horse and get after it.
I feel as though you have a potential ace in the hole, if you will, on your staff. In another Grand Canyon transfer, Hunter Omlad, who turned in a brilliant performance March 19th, striking out 11 in 5 1/3 in a long relief win over Utah Valley, although Hunter's got a bit of a health issue this week, doesn't he, Sam? Tell us about that.
Well, the funny part is, Hunter was going to possibly replace Burns as a starter on Thursday, and he's got a little pneumonia happening. So he's just sickness, nothing major, nothing with the arm. Just he wanted to be the tough guy without the undershirt and the cold weather.
That's right.
Montana kid and Pullman, and I think he's paying a little bit of the price on it, but I'm okay with that. It showed some toughness. It showed some grit. I think it was a good point to make that he could get out there and he's not letting the elements bother him. And to your point, the biggest thing with Hunter is keep throwing the changeup, keep developing the changeup, a third pitch. He complete opposite of Schieffer. He came in with 2 pitches, fastball, slider, and he really needs a third one to keep guys off of it. And at the beginning of the year when he was getting hit around, especially by lefties, we were a 2-pitch mix. And now that he's really done a good job of working hard on the changeup, I think we're seeing the fact that we could stretch him out a little bit.
You have a great kid on your staff, and right-hander Tyler Meyer, who was one of your weekend starters 2 years ago, sat out last year, recovering from labrum surgery and has struggled this year. And it seems as though physical issues still a concern there, right, Sam?
Yeah, I think he's healthy. I think the issue that people don't see is him finding a comfortable arm slot right now in a different mix of pitches. You know, his slider feels comfortable at a certain slot where his fastball doesn't. So trying to find where the comfort level is for everything is a big physical issue for him. And obviously, coming back from labrum, being a year out, mentally, is something that he's going to have to overcome as well. You know, he's looked okay. He's looked okay to good in bullpens to a fact where I feel or we felt that he could go out there and win an inning or two, and it just hasn't happened for him. You know, UNLV, I think he got 2 ground balls early. It started off how we wanted it to. They found holes, and he hasn't been able to mentally overcome that stuff right now. We're going to continue to work, though. He's a great kid, and you know, I'm confident he's going to get it. And if we could get him just to help us at some point this year, I think we'll be a better team.
Big series this weekend on Easter weekend, 3 games against a good offensive club in California. Talk about the matchup your pitchers will face against the Bears this weekend.
Tim, I feel like we're facing good offensive clubs every weekend. So it's always the pack. The pack is full of good offense. You know, I think it's going to be tough for us, especially down Thomas for the weekend. But this is when guys have to step up. We're going to have to match it up. They got some good quality players there too that played for Team USA and Green and Loma Vida, and they're really offensive. We just, you know, one of the things we preach here is we know the elements here at Muni. We know what happens. We don't have to be the best staff in the country, but we just have to be the better staff that day. So we just have to figure out a way to be better staff on Thursday than they are, better pitching staff than they are on Friday, and a better pitching staff than they are on Saturday. So if we could just do that and limit the damage, you know, I think our offense is starting to swing the bat, and we could come out on top.
Always enjoyed talking baseball with you, Sam. Thanks for stopping by and visiting with us. Best of luck to you and the club this weekend.
Appreciate it for having me on, Tim. I'll see you out there this weekend.
We'll see you at the Yard. That's Arizona State pitching coach Sam Peraza, our guest on this segment of Dugout Chatter. Coach Bloomquist will rejoin me for the final segment of this week's show in just a moment. This is Dugout Chatter with Coach Willie Bloomquist on the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. We're heading down the home stretch of tonight's installment of Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist on the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healy, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil Baseball and your host for this week's show, and we're glad you joined us this week. ASU head coach Willie Bloomquist rejoins us now. And, Coach, I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of players who've caught our eye over the last week. First off, we mentioned earlier in the show how Nick McLean's bat has started to come back to life over the last 4 games. The same would seem to apply from the guy that we think is the heart and soul of your club, catcher Ryan Campos. He's been able to get on base and drive in runs all year, but over the last few games he's gotten 6 hits, 4 RBIs, belted his team-leading 7th home run of the season the other night at Vegas. What's your take on where Campy is at the plate right now?
I think Campy's starting to find his groove and find his timing and get back to what makes him successful. I think early on he was trying to do a little bit too much on the power front and unlike Campy, kind of trying to do too much and hit homers and do some of those things that aren't him. When he tries to, but right now he's getting back to what makes him good, and that's taking the pitches away and taking what guys give him, go the other way, take his hits there, and then when they make a mistake, go ahead and turn on it, which he's been doing. So I think you're starting to see the real Campos start to come to fruition.
Doesn't it always seem that way when guys just get back to what they really are at the plate, that the power things for some players like Campy will just kind of come as a result? Well,
when you try to, spoken from a non-power hitter, when you try to hit for power, that's not you. It's going to make things miserable for you. When you try to do things that are not what make you successful, when you try to be more than who you are, that's when all of a sudden everything goes south. And it takes a little bit of a reset for some of these guys to get back into their groove and find the things that make them really good players. And whether it's the external factors of the draft year and all that type of stuff, that people will speculate on, whatever that stuff is, it's like, man, forget about it, wash it out of your mind and just go play baseball and do what makes you you. And that's been a challenge with these, a lot of guys, and they're human, right? They're kids that they'd be lying if they said that, yeah, they weren't thinking about some of this stuff. But at the end of the day, man, you're out here to perform for ASU right now, and this is about us, about our program, and go out and what makes you successful, and the rest will take care of itself.
When he came to Arizona State, your freshman second baseman, Ethan Mendoza, was billed as an offensive second baseman. And, boy, we've seen that in the early part of his first season at ASU. He had 6 hits in the Washington State series, a 4-hit game on Saturday in Pullman. What's your take on Ethan's play to this point?
Ethan's been great. Got off to a real hot start, and then had a little bit of a cold streak, but is starting to kind of find his groove back again, and had a nice weekend up at Washington State, and had a nice day yesterday or on Monday in Vegas. And he's been pretty stable. That's the one guy I've moved all over the lineup quite a bit. I've hit him second, hit him fifth, sixth, eighth, and he just kind of seems to keep his mouth shut and go about his business. And as of late, given the defensive struggles that we've had, I've had to move him around the infield as well. So primarily a second baseman, did very well at shortstop in Vegas, and might start toying with him over at third base as well, because we got kind of a little bit of an issue over there right now. So we're gonna need Ethan to continue playing well.
Another guy that's kind of a lunch pail guy that I know you've liked in his 2 years here is your second-year one-time walk-on outfielder Kian Vu, who has come up with some really big pinch hit at-bats for you the last couple of games. And Monday you started him at first base, and he had 2 hits and 2 runs scored. He means a lot to your club, doesn't he?
Well, and don't forget about the key stolen base there in the ninth, and creating the balk call on their guy in the ninth. That just he's a dynamic player, and if there's anyone that can squawk about playing time right now, it's Kian Vu. And it's tough because we got Harris Williams and Isaiah Jackson and Nick McLean in the outfield, and all this kid done is hit 400 so far this year, and it's like, man, where do you squeeze him in with those guys out there? And for me, that's the challenge of, man, I just got to throw him out there, and I'm going to have to sit one of these other guys on occasion and get him in the lineup because he's a dynamic player. And, he's a decent first baseman as well. He picked a great short hop that was from Toby over at third base. He made a very key pick right there at first. So, he's just a baseball player. And for me, that's one of those things that I gotta do a better job and figure out how to get him in the lineup more often, because he's a dynamic kid that can really help our offense.
We saw one player make his debut the other night in Vegas, Ryan Krapel, making his college debut, starting at second base, a young man from the San Diego area. Tell us a little bit about Ryan.
Well, Ryan is, like I said, we had a meeting, and there needs to be things shaken up a little bit. If you're going to go out and represent Arizona State, you can't take the uniform for granted. If you're going to play with no energy and no desire, then you're not going to play. And we'll find guys that do want to play and represent this school the right way. So, that was one of those things that I felt at time that, I brought him in and said, you ready to go? Like, you're going to get an opportunity here and play. And he's like, yeah, coach, let's do it. And so I put him out there, and given the situation where we're at with injury-wise and some performance issues, he's going to get an opportunity to play and showcase himself.
Speaking of injuries, Willie, do you have any update on your freshman infielder, Jax Ryan, who dinged his left shoulder in the Saturday game at Washington State?
Yeah, Jax will be out this weekend again. Dove for a ball, and shoulder kind of popped out of place there and kind of went out and right back in, but that's going to be very painful for a good week or two, I think, and pretty stiff. He's not at a place right now where I'm confident that he's going to be able to play this weekend. So again, we're gonna need Ryan to hopefully step up and be ready and be serviceable in his absence. And we're going to need other guys to play better than they have.
You're listening to Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist here on the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healy, your host. Arizona State this weekend ready to host a big 3-game Pac-12 Easter weekend series as the Cal Golden Bears come to Phoenix Municipal Stadium for games Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Cal is off to a good start. They're 15-7 overall. They're 5-4 in Pac-12 play, and they feature one of the better hitting and one of the top home run hitting teams in the Pac-12 conference. Willie, what's your overview of this series coming up with Cal? Last year, you guys had a barn burner with the Bears up there and were able to take them 2 out of 3 in Berkeley.
Yeah, they're tough. They're going to be they're an older team. They're not going to be intimidated by a whole lot. They're going to come in, and then experience at this level is, we're finding out, that is very key. And they're a team that is very experienced and older, and has a very good top of their lineup offensively. So we're going to have to play well, and they have a very good pitching staff that knows how to pitch and change speeds on us. And they've had success. We knew coming into this year that was kind of, in my mind, the dark horse of our conference that was, I think, going to shake things up. That a lot of people didn't give Cal a lot of credit, but I was like, man, I think they're going to be pretty good, and they certainly have been off to a pretty good start. And we're going to have to play well. We're going to have to come out and play well and match them, and hopefully our offense continues to swing the bat. We're going to be, unfortunately, probably without Thomas Burns this weekend with some shoulder stiffness. That's going to be a big blow to our pitching staff, and we're going to have our work cut out for us. We're going to have to spit and glue some things together and try to get through this weekend and match these guys with their high octane offense that they have.
Do you have any sense of how you'll approach things, particularly for the Friday night start in Burnsy's absence?
No, I don't. We're going to have to, we're trying to figure out tomorrow, Thursday, first and foremost.
Right.
And with what we've had, we got a young man with pneumonia that we were planning on starting tomorrow. That kind of has thrown us a wrench into things. So we're scratching our heads here, man. Like who did we piss off over the course of this thing? We can't catch a break right now, but hey, that's the nature of this game. We're just going to have guys step up and fill in their absence, and we're capable of it. So at the end of the day, we'll figure out. At the end of the day, don't necessarily need guys to be starters. We just need guys to get outs, and try to match up the best we can throughout the lineup and see where the game takes us. We're just going to be really good at managing the bullpen and managing when we bring in certain guys and what situations.
With your team swinging the bats better and Cal a good offensive club, do you anticipate this being a high-scoring series?
Tim, I'm not sure what I anticipate anymore. Whenever I anticipate us scoring a lot of runs, we don't. And whenever I anticipate it being a pitcher's duel, it seems to be a barn burner. So bottom line, what I do expect our guys to come out and play hard and be ready to go and play with intensity, and the results will take care of themselves. I mean, we know we're going to have to come out and play well. We're going to have to come out and play better than we have been so far in the past several weeks. And it's time for this team to start rising up and playing to their capabilities, and that's what I expect of our guys.
And no better time to start than the present. Again, this big series coming up this weekend with Cal, and the Sun Devil Radio Network will have you covered, live coverage of all 3 games of the Cal series. And keep in mind, with this being Easter weekend, the ball games are on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday format as opposed to the regular Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday and Friday games will begin at 6:30. Saturday's series finale will be at 1 o'clock. And my broadcast partner, former ASU catcher Max Rossiter, will join me for the call of all 3 games here on the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. Airtime Thursday and Friday, 6:15. Airtime Saturday will be at 12:45 p.m. That'll do it for this week's show. We thank you very much for joining us. Thanks as well to our Sun Devil Radio Network engineer-producer Sean Crespin for his outstanding work on this broadcast. Thanks as well to ASU Baseball Information Director Jeremy Hawks for his help, and also to Kayla Mortellaro from KDUS 1060 AM for her help on the broadcast. Willie, always great to visit with you. Best of luck against Cal this weekend.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it, and hopefully see everybody out at Muni this weekend for Easter weekend, and it's a big one. Hopefully we can get things rolling.
Weather should be good. Hope to see you folks out there. We'll be back next week with another installment of Dugout Chatter, and we hope you'll make plans to join us. Till then, for head coach Willie Bloomquist, I'm Tim Healy. Thanks for joining us. So long, everybody.